Hey guys, tonight we're doing something a little different. Imagine this. You're a humble peasant from a damp, muddy English village in the 1300s. You sleep on straw, you wake with a rooster. You know about 5 people, one of whom is probably named John the Cowbiter. And suddenly, you open your eyes in a shiny, humming box full of strangers in shoes that don't squish. There's light without fire, a floor that vibrates. A loud voice from nowhere, announcing something called Times Square. Welcome to the New York City subway, and yeah, spoiler alert, you probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it right now? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink. Once. Twice. You are somewhere. Somewhere unholy. You are inside a long stone tunnel with glowing torches, but the flames don't flicker. You reach out toward one and recoil. It's not a flame at all. Just a glowing rod that hums like a sleepy bee. And everyone around you. They're sitting calmly, reading glowing paper, tapping on tiny black slates. No one is screaming. Not even the man with silver bells in his ears and painted fingernails, casually sipping from a hornless goblet with the word Starbucks on it. A shrill bell rings, and the entire metal cave groans to life. You lurch forward, grabbing onto a pole that's far too smooth to be real. Outside the glass windows, darkness. You try to pray, but the words feel sticky. Are you underground? Did someone bury you alive? No, you're moving, fast. Faster than the fastest horse you've ever seen. And the wheels? They're silent. Where's the squealing, the clatter of hoofbeats, the comforting stink of manure? Someone beside you coughs and you brace for a plague cart, but no one reacts. He presses a cloth to his face. No leeches, no doctor in a bird mask. Just a shrug. You reach up to the ceiling and feel a cool breeze pushing down from invisible slits. The air is dry, clean. Where are the flies? The stink of smoke and sweat? Instead, it smells faintly of lemon and metal. Your heart pounds. Witchcraft, surely. Or worse, Florentine trickery. One of the sitting folk looks up at you and raises an eyebrow. You good, bro? He says. You stare. Good enough, bro? Okay, whatever, he mutters, pulling out tiny white tubes and sticking them in his ears. He presses the side of his black rectangle and suddenly, music. You hear music. A bard. But no bard is in sight. Just a man bopping his head while staring into his magical slate. The music sounds like bells and drums and a woman singing about love with an oddly synthetic accent. You scan for exits. There. A glass door. You pound on it. The man next to you sighs again. You wait till it stops, bro. Wait. Till it stops, you whisper, trying the words like foreign bread. And then a screech, a hiss of air. The doors open as if on command. You stagger into the light. You're in a grand hall made of white stone and strange symbols. The air smells of oil and hot bread. The floor glows faintly, no soot, no rats, no mold dripping from the rafters. Just smooth, polished stone. It feels wrong beneath your calloused feet, too soft, too clean. You walk carefully, expecting it to collapse. A wall nearby moves, actually moves. It's a flat surface, but it displays a woman's face, talking cheerfully about insurance. Her mouth moves perfectly in time with her voice, but you can see she's not inside. Just trapped. Trapped in the wall. You try to help her. You hit the glass. She doesn't flinch. Hey, don't mess with the screens, someone says behind you. Screens. You whisper the word, like a scream in a dream had a baby. More walls move. Doors open with a ding and swallow people whole. Others ride a staircase that moves on its own. You gasp. You clutch your tunic. You try to climb the opposite way, but it drags you backward. A little girl nearby snorts. It's just an escalator, dude. What? You try to form a plan, some kind of mental survival map. But nothing, absolutely nothing resembles home. There are no market stalls, no shouting butchers, no dung carts or suspicious puddles. Instead, it's a world of blinking lights, invisible voices, and people walking like they're late to be executed. You spot a sign, bright white letters. Exit. Aha, Latin. Or at least something you vaguely remember from Brother Malcolm's monastery schooling. You follow the sign like a pilgrim toward Jerusalem, and then freedom, fresh air, blue sky, but also thunder. Not real thunder. Rolling mechanical thunder. You cover your ears. Then you see it, the first car. It glides by with glowing eyes, roaring like a demon with shoes. You do the only reasonable thing. You faint. Historians still argue whether medieval peasants truly believed metal could become alive. Some say they feared automatons, others dismiss it as monkish legend. Either way, you are now absolutely certain. The devil rides on wheels. You wake up flat on your back, staring at a sky that somehow looks wrong. Too clean, too blue. Even the clouds behave strangely, fluffy and unmoving, like sheep that forgot how to wander. You blink again, half hoping to wake up in your straw cot with the comforting smell of mildew and turnip stew. But no, you're still here, still in this place. The street you're on is wide, unnaturally so, and paved with some sort of black stone that doesn't crack or give way underfoot. It stretches farther than your eyes can follow, flanked on both sides by enormous glass towers that glint in the sunlight like polished armor. If the cathedral back home were laid on its side, it still wouldn't reach the third floor of one of these giants. Then there's the noise. It roars constantly, metal monsters rushing past in a blur, each one painted with different insignia, like knights in a permanent joust. Some are red, some yellow, some just shiny and black. None have horses. None even smell like animals. Just smoke and heat and something oddly like boiled eggs. You gag. You try to step into the road, but a hand yanks you back. "Hey, cross at the light, man," says a woman in bright blue clothes holding a bag that declares, "Live Laugh Latte." You glance at the nearby pole. It has a glowing eye. It's red now. The woman taps her foot. You imitate her, not really sure why, and wait. A moment later, the eye turns green. Everyone moves. You move too. The street is a battlefield of sounds, honking, squealing, something nearby playing music through a box stuck to a pole. You pass what looks like a stable, only it doesn't house horses. It houses the metal beasts. Parked in neat rows, some of them sleeping with blinking eyelids, others growling softly to themselves. You sneak up on one, touch its side. It's hot, vibrating slightly, like it's alive. You knock gently, it doesn't flinch. Still, you keep your distance. Back in your day, things that hummed for no reason usually involved demons or wind. Then you reach the sidewalk. Sidewalk. A strange path that is indeed beside the walk. Made for walking. You're getting the hang of this. But your feet ache. The soft boots you were gifted for the Harvest Festival have worn thin, and this black stone is unforgiving. So you sit, right there, on the edge of a large planter filled with oddly trimmed bushes. From this perch, you watch the people go by. No one looks at you. Not really. A few glance, wrinkle their noses, and move on. Most have tiny wires dangling from their ears or fingers tapping frantically at glowing panels. They walk fast, purposeful. You admire that. But also, where are the bartering cries? The gossip? The banter between baker and brewer? Here, conversations are mumbled into thin air or typed silently. Not a loot in sight. You hear the roar again. One of the metal carriages speeds by and you spot a child inside. He's holding something, flat, glowing, colorful, not a book. You squint. The images are moving. A knight? A sword fight? No, cartoons. Magic? A dog walks past. At least you think it's a dog. It has 3 coats on, tiny boots, and its own wheeled cart. Its owner is wearing headphones and sipping from a cup that steams. No one seems alarmed by the creature's wardrobe. You're beginning to think you're the oddity here. A giant vehicle glides up and exhales with a loud PSSHHT. The doors open. People walk in. A bus, you learn later. But now it's just another monster and you're not ready to be swallowed again. You stay where you are until your stomach growls. Ah, hunger. Finally something familiar. But there are no stalls, no open fires, no old women selling pies the size of your hand and twice as tough. Instead, there are glowing signs. One reads, Prêt à manger. French? You never trusted the French. Still, your feet move you toward it. You try to open the door. It pulls, not pushes. Tricky. Inside, the air is cold, deliberately. A box near the entrance hums and glows. It contains neatly wrapped food. You peer at it. A sandwich. Ham. You recognize that at least. You reach for it. Sir? A voice stops you. A woman in a green apron gestures toward a small glowing box on the counter. You'll need to pay. You nod solemnly. I have 1 chicken. She blinks. Sorry? You open your satchel and present a small, rather confused hen. The woman laughs. Thinks you're joking, you do not. Eventually, a man in a blue vest guides you gently outside. He gives you a sandwich anyway, and a cup of something bubbly that tastes like sour fruit and fire. You eat gratefully. Historians still argue whether peasants would be more fascinated or horrified by modern cities. On one hand, warmth, food, light. On the other, no familiarity, no barter, no sheep. One thing's clear, you haven't seen a single turnip today, and that's starting to get weird. You continue your slow march through this alien kingdom full of noise and lightning trapped in wires, when you come across something both terrifying and strangely beautiful. A river of metal beasts. They flow past in endless lines, growling and snorting, some small and boxy like wagons with windows, others long and slithering like wheeled serpents. You step back instinctively as one passes within arm's reach, its wind knocking your hood sideways. Its eyes flash red, its rear glows with firelight, and still, no horses. No team of oxen straining, it just moves. Alone. Powered by... what? Steam? Ghosts? The road itself hums. There are markings on the black stone. Bright yellow stripes, arrows, numbers that mean nothing to you. You spot a man crossing through the chaos, but he only steps forward when the magical pole with a glowing figure turns green again. You follow, nearly losing a shoe as one of the metal carriages screeches to a halt just inches from your toes. The driver inside holds up a hand, 2 fingers. A peace sign? A curse? You wave back with all 5, hoping to cover your bases. Across the street, the world doesn't calm. If anything, it grows stranger. You pass a long row of carts, no, shops, built into the ground floor of a massive glass structure. Each one seems to offer things no sane peasant could afford or even dream of. Shoes with glowing soles, moving pictures on windows, a place selling frozen cream with sprinkles, which a child refers to as unicorn poop. You are mildly alarmed but also intrigued. The smell hits you then. Grease, salt, sweetness, something foreign and fried. It's coming from a small stand, labeled hot dog. You brace yourself for actual dog meat, but it's just a sausage, curled inside a slice of bread like it's taking a nap. You eat one cautiously. It tastes like a feast day indulgence. You eat another, and another. By your third, you decide this world might be worth enduring, even if their sausages have no visible source. Suddenly behind you, honking. Loud, prolonged, rude honking. A man in a car yells something about jaywalking. You do not know what that is, but it sounds sinful. You bow slightly as one would before a bishop, and shuffle off. A few steps later, you see something truly bewildering, a carriage with no driver. It stops at a red light, waits patiently, and then begins moving again when the light changes. Inside, a woman sits casually reading, not even holding reins. You stumble toward it, trying to understand, and nearly get arrested for tapping on someone's Tesla. Apparently the carriage is named, like a noble steed, and it drives itself. You lean against a nearby pole and try to breathe. The air tastes like burnt toast and coins. You've been here perhaps 3 hours, and already the world has bent every law of nature you know. Fire that comes from walls. Rain that doesn't wet, just mist from pipes above shop entrances. Roads that shimmer. Buildings that scrape the sky. You think of your village, the thatched roofs, the muddy roads, the comfortable stink of livestock. And yet, here there is no dung, no fleas, no biting cold. Everyone wears layers of cloth that look warm but light. And shoes, real shoes. With thick soles, bright colors, some even with tiny lights that flash when people walk. You stare down at your own feet. Wet, blistered, mud-crusted. You don't just feel out of place. You feel prehistoric. Someone brushes past you and mutters, "Get off the sidewalk, man." You nod, apologize, move aside. You find a small bench and sit, hands folded. A nearby woman glances at you with vague concern and then returns to her glowing rectangle. You try not to stare, but the more you look around, the more it strikes you. Everyone's looking down, at devices, at screens, at boxes. No one's talking, no town crier, no wandering minstrel, no gossiping alewives. Just silence broken by machines. Historians still argue whether medieval villagers had a true sense of community. You didn't just live in a village, you belonged to it. Every face was known, every role understood. Here, you've seen 1,000 people, and not one of them has made eye contact for more than 3 seconds. Then a boy passes. He looks about 12, wears a backpack covered in odd symbols, and he's staring into a rectangle as he walks, a stick in his other hand that seems to direct his steps. You stare, the stick vibrates, glows, points. A magic wand? You shuffle after him, pretending to tie your shoe. A lie, you have no laces. He walks into a store. You follow. Inside, cold air and rows of items sealed in shiny, colorful wrappers. A palace of abundance. You'd be executed for stealing this much in your time. And yet, no guards. Just music playing softly overhead, a woman humming behind a tall counter, and a glowing panel that reads, "Self-checkout." You don't know what that means, but you decide to leave before someone calls the constable. On the way out, a small machine on the wall says, "A TM." You press it. Nothing. You press it again. Still nothing. A man behind you sighs and steps forward, inserts a small card, taps a few buttons, and the wall gives him money. You're too tired to even gasp. You're walking now, well, shambling, with the posture of someone who has seen too much and understands too little. Your hands are sticky from the hot dog, your eyes ache from squinting at glowing signs, and your ears are still ringing from the 1,000 noises the city throws at you every second. And then, salvation. A small storefront, warm light spilling through its wide windows, promising comfort, nourishment, and, according to the glowing letters, 7-Eleven. You read it like it's a spell. 7-11. Inside, it smells of sugar, mystery meat, and something slightly burnt. A small bell dings as you enter. No one notices. You gaze in awe. Walls of strange artifacts line the interior. Colorful potions in plastic bottles. Shiny packets that rustle when touched. Machines that hum and whirl. A child refills a plastic chalice under a blinking red fountain labeled Slurpee. The drink is cold and fluorescent blue, swirling in a clear dome like a wizard's cauldron. You approach the wall with the glowing glass front. Inside, food, tiny breads folded around cheese. Cylindrical rolls stuffed with meat. One of them spins slowly on heated rods, sweating grease. This is no ordinary inn. This is wizardry with snacks. You reach for one of the rolls. A small sign warns, "Hot! Handle with care." You, of course, can't read most of it, but HOT rings familiar. You grab it anyway. It burns your fingers. You yelp. Drop it. No one helps. You crouch and whisper apologies to the food. That's when you see it. A box, glowing, humming, and above it, a sign with radiant letters. Microwave. You study the machine. It's squat, mysterious, covered in numbers. A metal door with a window. You peer inside. It's empty. The box growls gently. You're cautious. Last time you met something that growled gently, it was a badger, and it was not empty. Still, curiosity wins. You place a wrapped sandwich into the belly of the box and close the door. You press one of the numbers at random. There's a click, a hum, and then motion. The food begins to spin. On its own. Heat radiates. You fall back. Witchcraft. You duck behind a shelf, peeking out at your spinning sacrifice. Nothing explodes, no one screams. Instead, the box eventually beeps. 3 polite little sounds like a door knock from a shy elf. You approach again, cautiously open the door. Steam rolls out. The sandwich is hot. You didn't light a fire, you didn't stoke a hearth, you didn't even chant. Just buttons. It hits you like a wet cod to the face. This world bends the rules. In your village, you had to pray to St. Lawrence to get your oven hot enough to bake a crusty loaf. Here, people press buttons and heat appears. Historians still debate whether medieval peasants would embrace or reject such sorcery. Some say they'd call it heresy. Others argue the convenience would win them over faster than you can say, pre-packaged burrito. You take your hot sandwich to a corner and crouch like a cat. Chew slowly. It's chewy, slightly artificial, and weirdly satisfying. You still don't know what chimichanga means, but you'd eat another. Then a new noise. A sharp, rhythmic series of beeps. You freeze. Stand slowly. Follow the sound to the counter. A man is paying. Not with coins, not with eggs, not with a chicken. He waves a flat card over a glowing rectangle. The machine dings. The woman behind the counter nods. Done. You look down at your pouch. 3 dull pennies, 1 smooth stone, and a suspiciously warm hard-boiled egg. Not exactly legal tender here. You try to offer the egg anyway. The cashier, bright-eyed, badge-reading Tanya, laughs. You're good. Just take it. But next time, bring cash. You bow deeply. Thank you, Lady Tanya. You are merciful and just. She blinks. Right on. Have a good one. You leave the 7-Eleven a changed person, but the moment of peace doesn't last. Outside, the world is still buzzing. You realize something. No one has acknowledged your clothes. Your dirt-smeared tunic, your leather belt with a pouch, your ragged cloak. Here, people wear all manner of strange things. Pants that squeeze like sausage casings, shoes with toes, shiny suits, oversized jumpers that say things like "Slay Queen" and "Just do it." Maybe you're not out of place after all. Maybe fashion's just random now. A group of teenagers walks by, each holding a glowing rectangle, thumbs moving rapidly. One of them laughs and says, "Bro, look what I just texted her." The others giggle and look at the rectangle. You nod solemnly. Rectangles are powerful, you murmur. They ignore you. You wander further down the street and spot a store with an endless wall of glowing boxes stacked on shelves. Phones, tablets, laptops. Words like data plan, unlimited storage, facial recognition plastered across every surface. You step inside. A young man in a black shirt approaches. Looking for a phone? You pause. Consider lying, then ask the only logical question. What does a phone do? He smiles. Everything. You raise an eyebrow. Can it bake bread? He frowns. No? Then not everything. Historians still argue whether a medieval peasant would see a smartphone as a miracle or a prison. Some say it would grant them infinite knowledge. Others say it would terrify them, an oracle that never sleeps, always watching, always buzzing. But you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about the microwave, the humming, the spinning, the sandwich that appeared, hot and steaming, from a box the size of a cat. You whisper to yourself, no fire, no ashes, no smoke. And for the first time in this journey, you don't feel scared. You feel hungry for more buttons. The streets sprawl endlessly, and as you follow the crowd like a sheep without a shepherd, you start to notice another oddity. People are talking to no one. Their mouths move. They gesture. They even laugh. But there's no one around them. At first you assume madness, or perhaps a spell. Maybe the city has simply made everyone lose their minds in unison. Then one of them turns and you spot it. A tiny white object nestled in the ear. You blink. A seed? A charm? A pebble blessed by a tiny priest? Number. It's connected, sometimes by wire, sometimes not, to a small glowing rectangle held near their mouths. They're talking into it. And someone is talking back. You sneak closer to a young woman wearing what appears to be pajamas in public. She's chatting with her invisible friend while sipping something called matcha. Yeah, I told her she could not bring her drama into my yoga flow again. You try not to be rude, but your jaw has once again dropped open. She turns, notices, and arches an eyebrow. Can I help you? You respond the only way you can. Are you speaking to the sky? She laughs. Bluetooth, man. Earbuds. Ever heard of a phone? You nod solemnly. They are everywhere. She goes back to her conversation. You try it yourself. You clear your throat, press your hands to your ears and say, Good morrow, spirits. I bid thee peace. No reply. Except for a nearby child who points and giggles. You move along. Eventually, you come upon a wide square bustling with even more people. Many are standing still, holding their black rectangles out in front of them, talking, no, shouting, into them. But they're not talking to people. They're talking to the rectangles themselves. You lean against a lamppost and listen. Okay, Google, what's the weather in Queens? Hey, Siri, play lo-fi beats. Alexa, order paper towels. You freeze. The rectangles respond. Calmly. Warmly. Like a gentle voiced scribe who never sleeps. You peer over the shoulder of a man asking his rectangle for directions. The glowing map shifts as if it knows where he is, where he's going, what he's thinking. You mutter, How do you know? The phone responds, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. You shriek. Leap back. The man laughs. Dude, it's just voice control. Chill. Voice control. You whisper it, like some powerful incantation. Historians still argue whether medieval people had any concept of self-operating machinery. The idea of a thing that listens and obeys? That's divine. Or demonic. Or both. A woman beside you coos at her phone. Hey Siri, what time is it in Paris? The voice answers instantly. It is 4:26 p.m. in Paris, France. You stare up at the sky. Paris? The city of perfume and confusing cheese laws? 1,000 miles away. The voice knows. You decide to ask your own question. You grab a stray phone from a cafe table, ignore the icy glare of the woman who owns it, and blurt out, What is the meaning of life? The phone hesitates, then says, 42. You nod slowly. A wise answer. The woman snatches the phone back. You apologize. Leave. You walk into a store labeled Best Buy, thinking perhaps it's where villagers go to bargain for the best goats. Inside, rows and rows of screens greet you. Laptops, tablets, all speaking, all alive. each one a tiny oracle with a polite voice and infinite knowledge. You tap one. The screen flares to life. A glowing bar asks, "What are you looking for?" You type slowly, "Bread." Dozens of images appear. Recipes, prices, reviews, videos of strangers baking with flawless hands and soft music. You try again. How to milk a cow. Videos, articles, tutorials. You gasp. In your time, it took a lifetime to learn a trade. Here, a child with a glowing slate could become a master brewer in a weekend. You whisper, "I am obsolete." But the screen simply offers, "Would you like to learn more?" Your heart pounds. You click, and click again. Before you know it, you've learned how to tie a tie, how to boil spaghetti, and what an air fryer is, though you still suspect it's a warlock's toy. And then you hear it. Laughter. Someone behind you is watching cats. Dozens of them. Falling off shelves, wearing hats, playing the piano. You lean in, captivated. Are these trained? No, the teenager says. Just the internet, dude. The internet. You say it aloud. The internet. You do not understand it, but it is clearly powerful and addictive. You find a screen of your own. Sit down, begin to scroll. A video of a raccoon washing grapes, another of a man reacting to other videos of raccoons, a chicken wearing pants. You laugh. You don't know why. Hours pass. Historians still argue whether humanity has gained wisdom or lost it in the glow of constant knowledge. You're not sure either, but the chicken in trousers makes you smile. Eventually, someone taps your shoulder. "Sir, we're closing." Closing? You look around. The bright lights dim slightly. The screens go dark. You're ushered outside. The rectangles may sleep, but your mind races. You have spoken to glass, heard the voices of unseen guides, learned more in a day than you did in a decade of monastic lessons. You, a medieval peasant, now know what Wi-Fi is, sort of. You look up at the stars. They haven't changed. That, at least, is comforting. The city has begun to settle. The sun lowers itself behind those great glass towers like a candle being snuffed out by a cathedral's stained glass dome. But this city, it doesn't go dark, it glows. Lights blink to life all around you. White, red, soft yellow, some even purple for reasons you can't guess. Lamps that stand taller than oaks, signs that flicker and dance like fairy fire, windows that shimmer with warm indoor scenes. And the people, still moving, still awake. Don't they sleep? Your village shut down with the dusk. Chickens roosted, hearths were banked, the fields whispered goodnight. But here the evening is a second day, maybe even louder than the first. A soft rain begins to fall, barely a mist, and yet umbrellas burst open around you with the speed of blooming flowers. You try to catch the droplets. They feel too clean, too tame. Where's the cold that bites your bones? Where's the smell of mud? The certainty that everything will be soaked for days. You round a corner and stop dead in your tracks. In front of you, in the window of someone's home, or what you assume must be a home, is a moving portrait. Not just moving, talking, acting. It's a scene of battle. A man in armor, though it's the wrong kind, all shiny and skin tight, throws a glowing hammer into the sky and rides a bolt of lightning. Another man flies with the help of glowing wings, and the sound. Gods, the sound. Thunder, music, voices that seem to echo through your ribs. You gasp so loudly that a passing jogger startles. What, never seen Thor before? Thor, the Norse god of thunder? He's still popular? You press your face against the glass. The screen takes up nearly half the wall. It's flat, thin, glowing. Behind it, the people sit calmly on soft chairs eating snacks from bowls the size of your head, not a flicker of fear on their faces. They watch as gods and monsters tear apart cities, laugh at men in capes, cheer when the villain is defeated. You blink. This is not a church miracle. This is entertainment. Someone behind you snickers. You don't have a TV, huh? You whirl around. TV? They gesture. Television. You know, shows, movies, sports, news, streaming, Netflix. You nod slowly, pretending you know even one of those words. You follow them to a window in a nearby building. This one shows a cozy scene. 2 people cooking together, smiling. Next, a nature scene. Giraffes moving across golden grass. Then a cartoon cat slapping a cartoon mouse. Each one is framed by a glowing box. Screens. Everywhere. You think back to Brother Malcolm's hand-drawn illustrations. Painstakingly copied from a crumbling manuscript. Just one image might take him days. Here, moving images appear like magic. No ink, no parchment. No monks getting ink blotches in their beards. Historians still argue how a medieval mind might handle the concept of television. Some suggest it would be considered heretical, a false window to the world. Others believe it might be worshipped outright, a box of visions showing glimpses of distant lands and heavens. And heavens, it shows everything. You press onward, caught in the glow of windows and screens. Even storefronts have them now. One shows people dancing, another cooking shows. How to bake 10 kinds of bread in 5 minutes. You make a note to revisit that one later. Eventually, you find yourself inside what must be a common room of some kind. Rows of chairs, a huge glowing wall, popcorn smell. Everyone faces the same direction. You sit down, you're in a movie theater. The screen comes alive with a low rumble. Stars swirl. A spaceship looms, enormous and beautiful. Voices narrate a tale set not on Earth but among the stars. You forget to breathe. In your world, the stars were gods, or at the very least mysteries never to be touched. Here, people fly between them. They fight wars in space, they flirt in space, they drink coffee in space. Halfway through, someone next to you offers you a candy. It's wrapped in plastic, the color unnatural, but it tastes like strawberries and sin. You whisper, "Thank you." He doesn't look up from the screen. Later, when the movie ends, you shuffle out with the crowd, dazed. You glance back at the now dark screen. You expect someone to fold it up to pack it away like a scroll, but it stays there, mounted, lifeless until the next vision begins. You step into the cool night air. Around you, more glowing signs call out. Now streaming. Tonight only. Limited time. Entertainment never ends here. It just reloads. You walk on, pondering. In your world, stories were rare, precious, often forbidden to commoners. Here, they flow like water, and people consume them without ceremony. While eating, while walking, while pooping, based on one sign advertising toilet tablets. It's overwhelming, but also wondrous. You glance up at one last screen. A man in a suit is reading news. He mentions numbers, elections, stocks. He speaks fast, but with authority. You whisper, "Is he your king?" Someone behind you laughs. "Nah, just the news anchor." You nod again. A very loud herald. They smile. "Sure, buddy." Historians still debate the value of storytelling in medieval times. Oral traditions passed down by firelight. Records preserved by monks. But now, here, a child could access 1,000 lifetimes of tales in a single afternoon. It's too much, and yet not enough. You stand on the corner, basking in the neon light. You've seen moving portraits, talking screens, gods in capes and raccoons with laser guns. You've eaten strange food, heard disembodied voices, watched machines that tell stories better than any village bard, and you're not even sleepy. The night deepens, but sleep remains a foreign concept to the city around you. In your village, the dark was a warning. Shut your doors, bar the shutters, trust only candlelight and prayer. But here, darkness is just a suggestion. Light is everywhere. Beneath your feet, above your head, glowing from windows, flashing from machines. Even the bins talk when you toss something in. Thank you for recycling, one murmurs. You're beginning to suspect the city is alive. Your stomach growls again. It's been at least 3 hours since the hot dog incident, and your body, still tuned to a medieval laborer's appetite, demands another feast. But there are no hearths, no taverns. You miss the comforting smell of stew, the smoke curling out of a chimney. Then, as if summoned by your craving, a bright yellow sign appears across the street. McDonald's, open 24 hours. You peer at the door. It opens by itself. You nod in appreciation. Respectful door, you murmur. Inside it's warm, cheerful. Music plays softly, something about dancing in the moonlight, and behind a counter, a handful of workers in matching uniforms move with mechanical efficiency. People stand before large, glowing slabs mounted on the wall, tapping them as if invoking spirits. You approach one of the slabs cautiously. It displays food. Burgers, fries, drinks. Pictures so lifelike you try to scratch one. Nothing happens. You reach out and press a glowing square labeled cheeseburger. The screen changes. More choices. Meal or item, it asks. You frown. You are both a meal and an item, depending on the day. You pick meal. Then it offers drink sizes. Small, medium, large. You choose large. You feel bold. Finally, it asks, pay now? You hesitate. A woman behind you, sensing your confusion, leans over. Tap your card or hit skip if you're paying cash. You press the green button and step aside. Soon a tray appears with a wrapped sandwich, golden sticks. You learn later these are fries. And a cup as large as a well bucket, filled with dark, fizzing liquid. You sit. Unwrap the burger. Take a bite. And time stops. It is soft. Warm. Salty. The meat, thin but rich. The cheese, strangely orange but delightfully gooey. The bread, light as clouds, lightly sweet. You whisper to no one. This is the food of kings. And yet, here it is. Given without ceremony. No plates, no candles, no small, twitchy-eyed boy to chase chickens out of the kitchen. The fries are addictive, crisp, salty. One leads to another, then another. The drink tastes like fruit and magic and possibly medicine. It sizzles on your tongue like the first raindrops of summer. A child nearby dips their fries in a red substance. You copy them. It's called ketchup. It is divine. You eat until the tray is bare, then stare at the wrappers. So much effort for something to be used once and thrown away. You're almost offended. This much paper in your village would have been passed down for generations. You wander over to the trash bins. You pause. They're divided. Recycle. Trash. Compost. You throw the cup in the first, the burger box in the second, and keep the napkin. It's too soft to waste. As you leave, a door swings open. A man in a green uniform appears. He holds a paper bag and says, "Order for Dylan." A boy steps forward, takes it, and leaves. No one says thank you. No coin changes hands. You rush to the counter. "Who is Dylan?" you ask. The cashier blinks. "Just a customer. Picked up a DoorDash." You frown. Door? Dash? She sighs. "It's an app. You order food on your phone, they bring it to you." You stare at her. "You don't have to walk to the food anymore." She shakes her head. "Nope." You exhale. Incredible. She glances around, then hands you a small fry. "You look like you need it." You bow deeply. You are a goddess of kindness. You step out into the night again, chewing slowly. The city hums. Somewhere nearby, someone is singing. Not loudly, not well. But it's human. And after so much silence from screens, it soothes you. You walk a few blocks more and find yourself in front of another glowing box. This one has food behind glass again, but it's standing alone. No human nearby. You read the letters slowly. Vending machine. You press your hand to the glass. Inside, rows of colorful objects await, chips, candy bars, small bottles of juice. You spot a bag with peanuts. You know peanuts. You read the instructions. Insert money. Press code. You try a coin. Nothing happens. A teenager strolls by, chuckles, and presses something on the screen. Then taps their phone against the glowing circle. The machine whirs and clicks, and a Snickers bar falls. You gasp. The machine obeyed you. They grin. Dude, it's just Apple Pay. You hold up your pouch of medieval clinks and clunks. Do you think the machine would like copper? They walk away laughing. You pick up the Snickers they left behind and unwrap it. Chocolate, caramel, nuts. You see God. Historians still argue over the evolution of food systems, from self-grown to market-sold to pre-packaged and delivered to your door by strangers with glowing maps. You, however, are far more concerned with the fact that someone invented peanut candy and then taught a box to give it to people. You sit on a nearby bench, licking chocolate off your fingers. You've met the fireless cooking box. You've learned the magic of drive-through food temples. And now you've found a box that feeds you without a soul inside. Your only remaining question is, what else will they make so easy you'll never want to go home? You stretch your legs, wipe the final smudge of chocolate from your chin, and walk aimlessly until you find a glowing rectangle mounted on the side of a building. Larger than most windows, full of moving images. But this time, it's not a battlefield or a talking god. It's a man building a treehouse. You stop. He's calm, deliberate. There's soft music, just a slow pluck of strings and the occasional bird chirp. No explosions, no laughter track, just wood, tools, and the occasional quiet voice saying things like, "Now we gently tap the screws in place." You're entranced. The sign above the screen says, YouTube. You wander inside and find yourself in what must be the modern version of a scriptorium. People sit silently at rows of machines, glowing boxes in front of each of them. No quills, no monks, just clickety-clack noises, soft and rapid. Some wear large padded earmuffs. Others mumble softly into tiny microphones. You cautiously approach a machine. You don't even know what you're looking for. You just type what you remember. How to milk goat. And the screen comes alive. A woman, smiling, clean, far too cheerful for someone about to wrestle a goat, explains each step. She demonstrates. There's soft music again. A pause between sentences. You feel like you could do it blindfolded now. You try again. Why do people in future eat so fast? Thousands of results. Most are labeled mukbang. You click on one. It is a person. Eating enormously, loudly, speaking between bites, smiling, staring directly into your soul. You flinch. You try something else. Why city is so noisy? Again, results pour in. Videos, articles, debates, animations. Even a man in glasses explaining something called urban density using Lego bricks. You giggle. You spend the next hour chasing curiosity. Why do people shave dogs? Is pizza fruit or vegetable? What is TikTok? Where did the dinosaurs go? Do raccoons go to heaven? Who is Shrek? Each answer more ridiculous and more fascinating than the last. Historians still argue whether an unlimited stream of information is a blessing or a burden. Your opinion? You've never had more fun in your life. And then a video titled Odd Medieval Hygiene Habits appears in the sidebar. You click. A chipper narrator begins. Did you know medieval peasants often only bathed once or twice a year? You stare at the screen, deeply offended. Once or twice a month, thank you very much, at least after festival days. And river bathing counts. The narrator continues. Some even believe that hot water opened the pores and let diseases in. Okay, fine. That one's fair. As the video plays, stock images flash by. Grim peasants with hay in their beards. Rats the size of dogs. Sad, muddy towns that look suspiciously like the one you left behind. You scowl. That is not my cottage, you mutter. Then another suggestion pops up. Medieval peasant reacts to modern technology. You freeze. Click it. And there on screen is someone pretending to be you. Dirty clothes, wild eyes, shouting at microwaves, falling over in front of vending machines, gawking at smartphones. You sit back, stunned. People are watching this. Hundreds of thousands of views. Laughing in the comments, posting small images of yellow faces with tears. You scroll. OMG, I'd love to see a peasant try VR next. This dude really said, "What sorcery is this?" and meant it. Can we get a full movie of this guy? You whisper. They mock me. And yet I am popular. A strange warmth bubbles up in your chest. You are being seen, even celebrated. Somewhere out there, people are amused by your struggle, but they're interested too. Curious about you. Wanting to know your world. You scroll again. Then, cautiously, you approach one of the glowing machines at the back of the room. It's labeled Computer Lab. You sit. A woman at a nearby desk asks, "Do you have a library card?" You freeze. "Is that a sword?" She chuckles. "No, it's a membership." You shrug. "I do not, but I bring stories." She smiles. "That's good enough. Go ahead." You open the web again, the internet, the great glowing hive of voices, and you type, "What is the internet?" 1,000 answers bloom. It is apparently a web, not of spiders, but of connections, of people, of stories, of cat videos and facts about plagues. It lives in cables and clouds and boxes that never sleep. You whisper, "A library that never ends." And it listens. You spend the next hour watching a man whittle spoons, a goat giving birth, and someone making bread using a singing bowl. At some point, you find a video titled Sleepy Forest Sounds. Just birds, wind, rain tapping leaves. You close your eyes for a moment. Just one. A voice behind you says, "Sir, we're closing the media center." You jolt awake. You've been watching YouTube for 4 hours. You stand slowly. Your legs are stiff. Your head is full. And your heart? A little full too. You, a medieval peasant, have journeyed through a forest of glowing screens and emerged wiser, stranger, and full of raccoon facts. You walk out into the night with one thought. What else can I learn? The night deepens, and though your body yearns for the familiar scratch of straw and the creak of a wooden cot, your mind remains restless. You've spoken to glowing boxes, eaten food summoned by buttons, and watched cats play instruments. But none of it prepared you for the most powerful artifact yet, the phone. You see it in every hand, every pocket. Rectangles glowing like embers, whispering music, stories, commands. They seem alive. People talk to them, glare at them, laugh with them, cry over them, and now you have one. You're not entirely sure how it ended up in your tunic. Maybe someone dropped it. Maybe you mistook it for a magic slate. Maybe it just wanted to be with you. The details are fuzzy, but here it is. Smooth, cool, glowing faintly. You press the side and it comes to life with a gentle buzz. The screen lights up. Icons. So many icons. Bright ones. One that looks like a bird. Another shaped like a flame. A blue square with a white F. You touch one by accident. It opens a sea of faces. Smiling, posing, eating, all saying things like #blessed and my morning coffee vibe sparkles. You nod. These must be paintings of nobility. Then a face pops up. A real one. A video call. You shriek, nearly drop the phone. The woman on the screen, middle-aged, pleasant, blinks. Hello? You stare. Are you in the box? She laughs. Zoom call? You look behind the phone. How are you so small? A pause. Where are you located? You glance around. By the glowing sugar cart. She furrows her brow. Times Square? You nod. Aye, the square of time. She smiles. Classic. You don't know what that means, but you're comforted by her face. Her voice. This gentle sorceress trapped in a rectangle. Eventually she ends the call. The screen fades. You're left holding silence. You press other icons. One opens a search bar. You type, how to speak to phone politely. Hundreds of results. One says, just say, hey Siri. You clear your throat. Hey Siri. The phone responds. Hello, what can I help you with? You scream again, then apologize. I did not mean to alarm you. Siri responds calmly. No worries. You decide to ask the most pressing question of all. What is the nature of time? A pause, then, here's what I found on the web about time. You are given links, articles, philosophical debates. Siri doesn't know, but she tries. You respect that. Historians still debate whether medieval peasants possessed any concept of existential pondering. The answer is, of course they did. They just didn't have the time or tools to explore it while chasing goats off rooftops. You walk on, phone in hand, like it's a sacred relic. Soon you see another kind of box. Thin, standing on the sidewalk. Inside it, glowing numbers. Weather, news, a map. A man walks up to it, taps the screen, and gets directions to a place called Bagel Hole. You copy him. You tap, directions to the moon. The screen flashes. Cannot provide walking route to the moon. You sigh. Cowards. You use your new relic to take a photo of yourself. Your face appears instantly on the screen. Grimy, confused, windswept. You're startled, but also intrigued. A self-portrait without a brush? You take more. You try smiling, then frowning, then holding up your chicken. You still have the chicken. She's fine. You look at the photos, swipe through them, and then something stirs in you. You open the internet again. Type, how to be liked on the phone square. And just like that, you're learning about influencers. People who are famous for existing loudly, for wearing good clothes, for eating photogenic food. You learn about likes, about followers. One page says, post consistently, find your niche, engage with your audience. You nod seriously. I shall post about sheep. Your first post, a selfie with the chicken. Captioned, Day 1. Survived the glowing city. Met a box that cooks bread. Praise be. You hit post. Nothing happens. Then, one like. From someone named @BreadKing93. You whisper, it begins. You spend an hour studying trends, hashtags, filters. You post again. Just ate a Snickers. Feel powerful. Am I emperor now? Another like. You're hooked. But not in a vain way. It's more like you feel seen. You, a mud-footed peasant with calluses and an impressive turnip-throwing arm, are being heard across the world. Or at least across New Jersey. Eventually, your phone buzzes again. A comment. You're hilarious. Please do a TikTok. You Google, what is a TikTok? It shows you short videos. People dancing, lip-syncing, pointing at floating words. You try it. You record yourself saying, what is happening? Where are the sheep? Why does bread cost $8? You upload it. It gets 243 views. You laugh. You don't know why. Historians still argue whether medieval minds would melt at the concept of the internet. But here you are, halfway viral with a phone in one hand and your chicken in the other. You walk into a store labeled wireless, trying to learn how to charge your soul rectangle? A kind worker hands you a cord. Just plug it in. You look around. To what? The sun? Fire? He points to a wall outlet. There. You plug it in. The phone blinks. Begins to drink energy from the wall. You nod. Witchcraft confirmed. And yet, comforting. You, a child of dirt and bread, now own a glowing window to the world. And while it may not help you thatch a roof or fix a wheelbarrow, it can summon knowledge, humor, and 1,000 cats in sweaters. You stroke your chicken and whisper, "We are living in strange, wonderful times." You've walked through the stone and glass forests of the modern world, eaten food from glowing boxes, learned the sorcery of smartphones, but nothing, absolutely nothing, prepares you for the sound that shakes the sky. A deep rumble followed by a low roar, crescendos above your head like thunder tearing across the heavens. You drop to your knees. "Judgment Day," you mutter, covering your head. But no fiery angels descend, no chariots of wrath. Just a long, silvery beast slicing through the clouds, gleaming like a giant needle sent by angry gods. It shrinks into the distance with surprising grace, trailing white ribbons behind it. You stare upward, trembling. Then a voice next to you says, "First time seeing a plane?" You turn. A man in a security uniform grins at you. "Plane?" you echo. He points to the sky. "Airplane. Flies people across the world." You blink. "On purpose?" He chuckles. "Come on, I'll show you." And just like that, you're walking beside him. He scans something with his badge, opens a door that whooshes, and suddenly you're in a cathedral of polished floors, rolling carts, and glowing signs. The airport. A dome of organized chaos. Men and women wheel large boxes behind them on tiny wheels. Loudspeakers call names and numbers like church bells announcing a very bureaucratic mass. You follow the man through a glass tunnel, and then you board the plane. It's like stepping into a small, blessed chapel with wings. Padded chairs, small windows, lights that can dim with the press of a button. You expect candles. Instead, you're offered pretzels. A woman in a blue uniform tells you to buckle your seatbelt. You fumble with it like it's a holy relic. She leans in and helps, whispering, "You're doing great, honey." The engines start. The floor vibrates. Your chicken clucks nervously from your lap. You whisper, "Shh, we must accept the sky now." And then movement. Not like a horse, not like a wagon. No rattle, no bounce, just push, then lift. The earth tilts away. You gasp. The city shrinks below, its lights twinkling like embers in the dark. Roads become threads. Cars, beetles. Your breath catches. You are flying. Not with wings. Not in dreams. Not as a spirit. But as a man, wearing a seatbelt, sipping orange juice from a tiny plastic cup, flying 600 miles an hour while watching a cartoon rabbit punch a robot. You consider fainting again, but the pretzels are oddly comforting. You glance around. Everyone else is calm. Some sleep. Some watch movies. One man nearby is typing furiously on a glowing rectangle, muttering something about spreadsheets. You watch him like he's a monk decoding sacred scripture. Historians still argue whether flight would terrify or inspire a medieval peasant. You decide it's both. You're terrified. But you've also never felt so large. Your village? A pebble. The cathedral? A bump. And this plane, this floating temple of velocity, is your chariot now. The woman in blue returns. "Chicken okay?" You nod. "She is majestic." She offers you a cookie. It tastes like cinnamon and modernity. Then a screen drops down from the ceiling. It shows your flight path. A little animated plane crosses a cartoon Earth. The cities scroll past. Boston, Dublin, Paris, Tokyo. You reach out, trying to touch the line of stars. You're told the plane has Wi-Fi. You blink. "You mean the internet? Here, in the sky?" "Yes," the stewardess replies. "But it's kind of slow." You cackle. You fly with fire and talk to oracles, and yet you complain of speed? She laughs and walks away. You try the Wi-Fi. It works. You post, "Currently flying over a kingdom." They gave me a cookie. Chicken unimpressed. Blessed it gets 1,200 likes. Someone comments, "Where are you even from, dude?" You respond truthfully, 1324. Norfolk, Eastfield, near the swamp, another like. Another comment, honestly, vibe. You learn to recline your seat. It feels like being cradled by angels. You're not sure whether it's the altitude, the snack, or the oddly soothing voice of the pilot whispering numbers and directions, but you start to feel sleepy. Until a small jolt wakes you. The descent. Your ears pop. The pressure changes. Your chicken complains. You try to reassure her, but honestly, you're not totally reassured yourself. The wheels meet the earth with a thud softer than expected. You're gliding again. On land now. Speed decreasing. Lights blinking along the runway like watchful fairies. And then you stop. You made it. Not dead, not cursed. Just farther away from home than any peasant in history ever dreamed. The doors open. A tunnel greets you. You walk down it like a returning hero. Your tunic is wrinkled, your chicken slightly airsick. But your eyes? Wide open. You, a man of mud and barley, have tasted the sky? And you liked it. Historians still argue how long it would take a peasant to understand a plane. But they underestimate the raw power of awe and snacks. You step into the terminal. And now you ask yourself the most dangerous question yet. Where should I go next? Oh, the airport spits you out into another city entirely, and while its shape is different, wider streets, gentler lights, air that smells faintly of salt and sugar, it's no less overwhelming. This one seems to move slower, though. Fewer horns, more smiles, a gentle rhythm. You stand outside the terminal, your chicken perched on your arm like a feathery squire, and take in the sight. Trees line the roads, but they're trimmed into perfect shapes. Buildings squat instead of soaring, more relaxed than the glass towers of your previous ordeal. The signs here still glow, but many of them red in smoother letters. Welcome. Health center. Walk-in clinic. You pause at that last one. Clinic. You say aloud. Is that like the leech house? You feel a tug of curiosity stronger than fear. Inside, the air is cold and clean. Almost too clean. A scent wafts through the space. Faint lemon and some sort of sterile metal tang. You expect to see monks with boiling pans of water, maybe a surgeon sharpening his bone saw. Instead, you see chairs, magazines, a fish tank. A woman behind a desk smiles at you. Checking in? You hesitate. I feel fine? Just browsing then? She jokes. You nod, not getting it. Yes, I shall browse the healing. She laughs and hands you a clipboard. You stare at the pen, a mechanical quill. She leans over. Need help? Indeed, you murmur. I do not know how to spell alive. Soon a young man in soft shoes and blue fabric greets you. Come on back. You follow him down a hallway lit like the moon. Cool, even, gentle. Inside the examination room, a paper-covered table waits. Posters on the wall show the human body. Nerves, organs, bones, with frightening accuracy. You suspect these people have seen inside us. The healer arrives. She wears gloves, a mask. She smiles with her eyes. Hi, I'm Dr. Wilson. What brings you in today? You point at your heart. I saw a box cook bread. I flew. The chicken is angry, and I have questions. She nods thoughtfully. Okay, let's start with your blood pressure. You offer her your arm, bracing for leeches. Instead, she wraps it with a cuff and a cord. It tightens. Whirs, then beeps. You flinch. She writes something down. Little high, understandable. She checks your temperature with a small wand. No glass, no mercury, just a light touch and a beep. Normal, she says. You wonder if this means you're still human. Next, she shows you something truly shocking. A tablet with moving images of your inner ear. She explains how the bones vibrate, how hearing works. You feel dizzy. Then she takes out a machine that glows blue and says, "Let's scan your heart." You whisper, "Do you need to open me?" She laughs. No surgery today, just sound waves. She presses a probe against your chest. A screen shows your heartbeat. You watch your own life pulse in real time. Still working, she jokes. You can't breathe. You can see what's inside me? Ultrasound, she says gently. You whisper, which? She pats your shoulder. Healer with a Wi-Fi subscription. She then prints a small piece of paper with numbers and letters. These are your vitals. You're remarkably healthy for someone who apparently walked in from the 14th century. You do not deny it. Then she asks, are you vaccinated? You frown. Is that like being baptized? She chuckles. Kind of, but with science. She shows you a tiny needle. This keeps you safe from disease. You nod. You've seen worse. It's done before you can finish whispering a prayer. Then she hands you a pamphlet explaining illnesses, prevention, diet. You see images of lungs, intestines, brains, all in full color, clearer than any monk's sketch. You are in awe. Again. Historians still argue when medicine made its great leap forward. Some say the Renaissance, others the discovery of penicillin. But you've seen the real milestone. A healer who doesn't need to bleed you to save you. You ask her, what do you know of plague? She sighs. Too much. You nod in solidarity. You've both lived through things that changed the world. She gives you a small bag. Inside, ointments, pills, instructions. You accept it like a sacred relic. Then as you leave, someone charges a glowing card and taps it on a machine. You try the same, offering a single silver coin. The clerk politely declines. Free today. Health should be accessible. You pause. Free healing? No tithe? No priest? No chicken? You bow deeply. Your kindness will be sung of in taverns. Outside again, you feel new. Not just cleaner or smarter, but possible. You, a man born into mud and fear, have now faced the modern temple of health and survived. You check your phone, the one you still don't fully understand. New messages, new likes. Someone sent you a video. Man tries VR for first time. You tilt your head. Another glowing miracle awaits. As you follow the hum of the city once more, turning corners with your loyal chicken still tucked under your arm like a feathery scepter of authority, you notice a curious shift in people's behavior near certain buildings. Their pace slows. Their gaze drops. Not out of reverence, but calculation. Some of them stare at glowing boxes mounted beside doors. Others linger, tapping cards or rectangles before they enter. You squint at a glass storefront labeled Bank of America. Bank, you know. The word is used even in your village, though rarely spoken by those who sleep comfortably. But it's what's inside that arrests you. There are no vaults, no iron bars, no chests of gold, just chairs, glowing machines, and people waving cards at walls. You hesitate before entering, unsure if this is a treasury or a place of low-level sorcery. But curiosity wins again. You open the door. Inside it is hushed, clean. Very little shouting, no visible coins. Just a faint scent of coffee and printer ink. You glance around. Where's the banker? Where are the ledgers? The wax seals? A smiling man in a tie approaches. Can I help you? You nod solemnly. I wish to understand money. He tilts his head. Do you mean checking or savings? You pause. Is this a riddle? He smiles wider. Let's start at the beginning. He walks you to a glowing screen with small buttons. This is an ATM. You nod gravely. Ah, the Oracle of Silver. He chuckles. You put your card in, and it gives you cash. You squint. So, it's a generous box. He explains, slowly, how modern money works. Your mind reels. Most wealth, it turns out, is invisible. Not carried in pouches or stored in church cellars, but floating in something called accounts. You don't have to see your gold anymore. You simply know it exists. You lean forward, whispering, "That sounds dangerously close to faith." He laughs again. You're not wrong. He hands you a fake card. This is a debit card. You use it to pay. You study it. It's not heavy enough to mean anything. He shows you how people buy things now. At a shop nearby, a man waves a card over a black square and beep, done. No coin, no handshake, not even a thank you. You try to buy a pack of gum. You hand the cashier a copper penny and a boiled egg. They do not accept it. You hold up the card, the cashier waves it. Beep. Transaction complete. You blink. I think I just performed a spell. Later, you find another sign. This one reads Bitcoin ATM. You approach it. The screen asks for a wallet address. You frown. My wallet has no address. It lives in my boot. You try pressing buttons anyway. Numbers appear, charts, something about mining. You whisper to your chicken, this is not the mining I remember. Soon a young woman sees your confusion. She kindly explains cryptocurrency, money that isn't metal or paper, but rather digital. Digital, you ask? She nods. It lives on the blockchain. You stare. Is that near the mill? She laughs. Not exactly. She shows you how people can now earn, save, and lose fortunes without ever touching a coin. You marvel. So the world is ruled by invisible numbers, guarded by glowing rectangles exchanged by tapping magic cards? Basically. Remarkable. Historians still argue when the abstraction of money truly began. Some say the first promissory notes in China. Others point to gold standards or tulip manias. You now know the real answer. Somewhere between the debit card and the crypto wallet. You try to open a Venmo account. The app asks you for a phone number, email, and bank connection. You frown. Too many gatekeepers. Instead, you create a new digital profile. Name, yes, old coin baron. Bio. Traded a chicken for Wi-Fi. First transaction, a friend sends you $1. Caption, for emotional support chicken. You burst out laughing. I am now funded. You walk into a fancy store labeled Apple. Expecting fruit, you find rectangles. Every surface glows. People test glowing slates. Headphones, watches that talk. You ask an employee, can these tell fortunes? She smiles. Only if you wear them long enough. You glance at the prices. Numbers so large they could feed your village for a year. You whisper, these rectangles must be forged from angel bones. Still, people hand over cards, tap, beep, smile. It all feels weightless, powerful, frightening. Outside, you buy a pretzel from a cart using a phone. A phone? You didn't even speak. You held up a glowing screen, watched a circle spin, and the vendor nodded. Your chicken gets a small piece. You nod at her. This is what nobles must feel like. Bread on demand. You stroll past a giant building labeled Stock Exchange. You don't go in, but you stare at the ticker tape rolling endlessly across the screen. Strange names, rising numbers, falling arrows. A man on his phone says, I just lost $20,000 in 3 seconds. You wince. You must have upset a god. He shrugs. That's crypto. You whisper, this world is run by madness and rectangles. And yet, you start to feel a dangerous idea growing in you. What if I learned how to use these tools? You, a simple peasant, were once rich if you had a sturdy goat and a decent roof. Here, money dances through air, invisible, silent, fast. You check your phone again. Another tip. Thanks for the chicken content. Keep it up. You look at your new shoes, gifted by a store employee who thought your story was the funniest thing ever, your bag of pretzels, your still glowing debit card. You might be getting the hang of this money thing. Historians might scoff, but you now know the truth. Even peasants can become moguls if they have Wi-Fi. You find yourself drawn toward what appears to be the center of this new world. Not a castle, not a throne room, but a massive palace made of glass and color and noise. The sign above it says mall. A strange name. No reference to food or lords or divine wrath. Just mall. You walk inside and are immediately greeted by smells. Sweet ones. Savory ones. Ones you can't place. Music spills from unseen sources. Screens flash. People glide by in matching outfits, laughing and carrying bags. But this is not a market like you've known. There's no shouting, no bartering. No one smells faintly of fish. And, most importantly, no mud. The floor is so polished you see your reflection. I am too clean for this place, you whisper. You follow the scent of cinnamon to a stand that sells buns, which to your utter delight are warm swirls of sugar, spice, and syrup that stick to your fingers in the most comforting way. The woman at the counter gives you a napkin and says, "Enjoy, sweetie." You nearly propose. The mall is like a cathedral of commerce, each corridor a nave, each store an altar to a different strange god. Denim, electronics, scented candles, and something called Bath and Body Works, which you mistakenly think sells hygiene advice. It does not. You approach mannequins posed in windows, lifelike, expressionless. You bow once, respectfully, mistaking them for gods or high-ranking nobles. A passing child laughs. They're not real. You lean closer. Are you sure? They have better posture than anyone I've ever met. You wander deeper. There's a store entirely devoted to hats, another just for shoes, another for socks. You mutter, this society has conquered abundance and foot comfort. Then you pass a window showing a glowing wall of images. A woman inside waves at a black disc and suddenly appears, live, on the screen. She talks to the air. "Hey guys, welcome back to my stream." You lean in. She's addressing no one, and yet thousands. She holds up a bottle. "This new toner is absolutely saving my skin. Link in bio." You whisper, "Is she a prophet?" A man beside you scoffs. "That's just an influencer." You nod. "Ah, like a bard, but with product placement." He chuckles. "Exactly." You walk on, soon arriving in the central atrium, a wide open space with a stage, a fountain, and dozens of seats. People gather here to rest, eat, check their phones. It's a town square, but no one talks. Everyone stares into their own glowing world. You wonder, do they ever see each other? Historians still debate whether modernity has isolated or connected humanity. From your view, both feel true. These people are surrounded, but alone. Then a voice booms over the speakers. "Attention shoppers, there's a flash sale at level 2. 50% off all outerwear." Everyone flinches. Some bolt for escalators. You watch the chaos. "A priest's sermon never moved people this fast," you mutter. You try an escalator again. You think you're ready now. This time, you succeed. You ride it like a champion, hands on the rail, feet slightly too far apart. Your chicken flaps once and gives in. At the second level, you're met with a store labeled Forever 21. You stare. A cruel promise. Inside, it's filled with young people trying on bizarre outfits. Pants that look pre-torn, shirts too large to be practical, jackets covered in chains. You try one on. You look like a lost bard who wandered into a heavy metal fair. A girl says, "Slay, peasant." You beam. "I shall." You buy the jacket with your glowing card. It beeps. You feel victorious. You pass a shop that sells only crystals, another only pillows. You even spot a vending machine that dispenses cupcakes. You whisper to your chicken, "It appears their gods are generous and deeply obsessed with snacks." Then you reach the final hall. At the end of it stands a store unlike the others. Darker, sleeker, with a single glowing apple for a sign. You've seen it before. You step in. Employees in matching black shirts smile like they've been summoned from a spa. Tables of glowing rectangles, Larger than phones, but smaller than windows. Oh, wait. You're told this is the flagship Apple store. You expect fruit. Still no fruit. You approach a display where a man is demonstrating a headset. He places it gently over his eyes and suddenly begins flailing his arms in slow motion. You leap back. Possession. No, says an employee. VR. Very real? Virtual reality. She hands it to you. You hesitate, then slip it on. The world goes dark, then light. You are standing in a forest. Birds chirp. Wind rustles leaves. You turn your head. A deer stares at you. You raise your hand, and it moves. You gasp. I have become a god. Someone chuckles. No, you've entered the metaverse. You pet the air. You walk a little. You laugh, then cry, then laugh again. When you finally remove the headset, the mall feels dull. The light's too harsh. The floor too real. You sit on a bench to recover. Sip from a cup of something called bubble tea, which contains chewy orbs of mystery and joy. Historians often wonder how modern commerce would be interpreted by a medieval mind. You know the answer now, as a cathedral, a carnival, and a miracle, filled with wearable art, flying stairs, and strangers who give you free lotion samples. You look at your reflection in a store window, jacket askew, chicken perched proudly, bubble tea in one hand, glowing phone in the other. You are the future, and the mall is your kingdom. You step out of the mall with your arms full. A new jacket, 3 lotions that smell of lavender and moonlight, and a chicken who now has her own Instagram account. You pause to rest on a bench beneath a large glowing orb. Soft light, no flame. Even their moons are obedient here, and then you notice them. Small black circles tucked into corners, hung on ceilings. Watching, always watching. You look up, to the side. Another one, eyes. The city has eyes. At first you think they're decorations, some kind of shrine to the gods of glass and motion. But then you see a man trip over a curb, and within seconds someone appears to help him. You hear another shout, and a flashing vehicle with blue lights arrives almost instantly. You squint at one of the circles. You saw that, didn't you? You whisper. Who watches the watchers? A security guard walks by. You ask him, are those enchanted orbs? He chuckles. Security cameras. You frown. So, not enchanted? Depends on who you ask. He explains. The black circles are everywhere. On lampposts, in shops, in cars, all recording. Some feed into rooms where people watch screens, drinking coffee and tracking motion. Others are connected to doors that unlock only if you look right. You mean, these eyes, Judge? He nods. Facial recognition keeps us safe. You back away slowly. From whom? He shrugs. Each other. You walk through the city now with a new awareness. Every move you make might be recorded. Even the act of scratching your nose could be stored, labeled suspicious nostril activity. You pass a building labeled Smart Home Showroom. Curious, you enter. A man inside waves his hand, and the door closes behind him without touch. He smiles. Welcome. This home learns who you are. You shiver. He explains. Lights that adjust automatically. Thermostats that know when you're cold. Speakers that answer questions. Cameras that track movement. Blinds that open with your mood. You say, I used to open my shutters with a stick. He chuckles. This stick has Wi-Fi. You explore the home. A glowing panel shows a feed of every room, even the pantry. You tap a button. A robot vacuum spins into motion. You leap onto the couch. It's a pet rock that cleans. He hands you a cube. This controls everything. You hold it like a holy relic. He shows you how the house alerts your phone if someone rings the doorbell, even if you're far away. You frown. So I can be inside? Even when I'm not? Basically, He adds, you can even yell at intruders from your phone. You nod. Modern witchcraft is very efficient. He laughs. Not witchcraft, just surveillance. You sigh. In my time, we called that Marjorie the milkmaid. She saw everything. Historians still debate whether modern surveillance is a protection or a prison. You, having lived a life of both feudal lords and privacy, see it as a trade. Peace of mind for a piece of your freedom. You return to the street. Now you notice them all. Cameras in taxis, in vending machines, on the corners of smart doorbells. One even tracks your movements in a clothing store to suggest what you might like to buy. You whisper, the world is alive, and it wants me to own khaki shorts. You duck into a public park, hoping for a break from the gaze. But even here, lights click on as you pass. Benches whisper gentle warnings if you leave trash. A drone buzzes overhead, delivering a smoothie to a man doing yoga. You glance up. The drone slows, you wave, it buzzes back. You can't decide if that's adorable or terrifying. You find a quiet place beneath a tree and open your phone. It knows where you are. It suggests videos of local history, nearest food stops, and reminds you to hydrate. It's trying to help, but also knows too much. You ask it aloud, who else sees what I do? It does not answer, so you dig. You learn about data, how every search, every swipe, every purchase is stored, collected, sold. You stare at your glowing rectangle. You betrayed me. Then you remember your own Instagram account, the chicken photos, the fan art someone drew of you, the messages saying, we love you, and never go back to 1324. You soften. Maybe being seen isn't always a curse. You pull your chicken close. What if the world needs watching? Just a little. You think of your village. Rumors, spying, secrets passed behind barrels. At least these cameras don't gossip. But then, they don't forget either. Still, you look into the lens of one mounted on a pole and smile. Let history remember me in high definition. You snap a selfie with it. Caption: being watched, but make it fashion. Then you post a poll. Surveillance, friend or foe? 300 people vote. You scroll through comments. One says, as long as the chicken is safe, I'm good. You nod. Then so be it. You leave the park under the blinking eye of 10,000 lenses, and for the first time you don't flinch. You just wave. The city hums beneath a sky thick with stars and distant traffic. Your jacket flaps gently in the breeze, and your chicken, now wearing a small handmade sweater, a gift from a passing knitter who recognized her from that viral reel, coos softly from the crook of your arm. You've seen wonders. You've pressed glowing buttons and flown through the sky. You've watched gods on walls, spoken to strangers from boxes, learned the economy of invisible coins. But now, you stand at the edge of it all, thinking the impossible. Should you go back? You're not sure what triggered the feeling. Maybe it was the scent of bread from a bakery near the train station. Real bread, flour-dusted, rising golden and warm behind a window. Or maybe it was the sound of a woman humming a lullaby in a language that reminded you of harvest days. Maybe it was just homesickness. For mud between your toes. For the crooked fence posts. For the sheep who never judged you. You find yourself in front of a storefront labeled Time Capsule Fee R. You laugh softly. A joke, surely? But the attendant, young, sleepy-eyed, wearing a beanie indoors, smiles and gestures to a machine. Want to visit the past? He says. You pause. Can I? He taps the headset. It's not your past, but close enough. You sit, strap in, and in seconds you are in a medieval town square. Not quite yours, but familiar. Cobbled streets, wooden stalls, the stink of cabbage and smoke, children chasing dogs, men haggling, church bells tolling in the distance. And suddenly your chest tightens. You hear a voice like your cousin's. Smell stew like your mother's. You remember what it felt like to sleep under a thatched roof and wake to the sound of roosters, not ambulances. When the headset comes off, your eyes sting. "Not bad, right?" the attendant says. You whisper, "It was too real." You walk outside and breathe in the cold night air. A neon sign flickers beside you. "Back to the Future Marathon tonight." You chuckle. Of course there is. You sit on the curb, letting your chicken pick at a French fry. The thought creeps in again. If someone offered to send you back, would you go? Your phone buzzes. New message. "Bro, I just discovered you. Don't ever leave this timeline." Another. "You're a better influence than half the influencers. More chicken vids, please." A notification lights up. You've reached 100,000 followers. You lean back. That would have made you mayor in your village. You stroll into a nearby 24-hour diner, order pancakes using a QR code, and sit by the window. The waitress calls you Han and gives your chicken a napkin-lined basket. She says it's illegal, but winks. You ask her, "Do people ever leave this world?" She shrugs. Only when they forget how weird and lucky it is. You eat in silence. Outside, a screen plays a looping video of an old woman learning how to use a skateboard. The crowd around her cheers. You smile. Historians still argue about moments of transition, when people become something new. A blacksmith who picks up a book, a peasant who flies through clouds, a man with mud under his nails holding a glowing screen. You step outside. Your shoes are scuffed, your tunic patched, but your soul is light. You wander one last time through the city. Let it all wash over you. The lights, the laughter, the motion. You whisper to yourself, "I understand now." And you realize you don't want to go back. You want to be here, to learn, to post, to pet dogs in coats, to eat frozen pizza that comes from a spinning tray and watch ghost stories while wrapped in electric blankets. You want to be the bridge, the bard between worlds, the one who remembers where we started and celebrates where we've arrived. So you pull out your phone, you make a new video, you speak softly, just loud enough to hear the traffic in the background. "Hello again, I'm still here. I think I might stay a while." You pause, then smile. "Also, the chicken just laid an egg in a mall bathroom." You shrug. Modern life is beautiful.